Be seated, please. Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this commencement day. As the chairman of the school committee and supervisor of the school, I stand here once again with a sense of deep humility and great pride. Humility in the wake of our predecessors, in the history of DBS over the last 143 years, who have set such a firm foundation for the school. Pride in the reflection that over the years, DBS has become one of the best, if not the best of the best, in Hong Kong, producing many outstanding alumni who lead in the professions and actively serve the community. I can think of no greater expression of appreciation of the achievements in almost all aspects you have achieved. It fills me with an emotion I can hardly express. I thank each and every one of you, and I thank all of you. And may God bless you all. Now we shall start with an opening prayer to be led by our school committee member, the Reverend Ross Royden. Shall we stand?
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for our school, DBS. We thank you for all the many who've attended it in the years since it was founded, and for those who attend it today. We thank you for staff, past and present, and all who have worked hard to make our school a place of which to be proud. We commit to you especially all those whose achievements we celebrate this afternoon. We pray for them in the future that lies ahead of them. Go with them and before them. We ask your blessing upon the continuing work of our school. Protect it, prosper it, and give it success. Grant, Lord, to all who study here and to those who teach them, the grace to love that which is worth loving, to know that which is worth knowing, to value that most precious to you, and to reject whatever is evil in your eyes. Give them a true sense of judgment and wisdom to see beneath the surface of things. Above all, may they search out and do what is pleasing to you, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Be seated, please. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the headmaster will now present his school report.
Good afternoon. The Honorable Chief Justice Jeffrey Ma, the Honorable Madam Justice Yun, J.A., members of the school committee, parents, staff, and boys, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome all of you here this afternoon to grace this occasion, particularly the Honorable Chief Justice Jeffrey Ma, who has consented to address the school, and the Honorable Madam Justice Yun, J.A., to present the prizes. Parents, teachers, students, all boys, and members of the school committee, your presence this afternoon have all helped to make the difference despite the rain. My heartfelt thanks to all of you. In your hand is the Headmaster's report. It reflects the hard work of our boys and teachers and the good life of DBS for the past year with remarkable achievement. I'm not going to go through that in detail. I would like to thank the school committee and the Education Bureau for their guidance and advice, all our staff for their hard work, and parents, old boys, and students for their contribution and cooperation. It's the joint effort of all of you which makes the difference, makes DBS so different, so unique, and so successful. Once again, we have come to this special day of the year. This speech day is a day to reflect upon the past in order for us to proceed forward with refined wisdom. It has been 12 years since I made my first speech on Speech Day in January 2001 as the headmaster of the school, although it really just seems like yesterday. In this past dozen of years, we've witnessed a lot of changes in Hong Kong and right here in DBS. The school has turned DSS, the IB curriculum has been introduced, and so has the NSS. Take a look at our campus. You can find new buildings like the SIP, the dormitory complex, the IB complex, and the up-and-coming auditorium to further facilitate the teaching and learning of our teachers and boys. All that new hardware lies far behind all of you sitting here today in terms of importance. Under the leadership of the Right Reverend Chui and all along with fellow members, we have been working closely together in the school committee to strive for nothing less than the best for the boys in matters large and small. We have also been working a lot closer with parents through the establishment of PTA. The first year I became the headmaster. Homeschool communication and cooperation has since then enhanced, and parents have put forth relentless effort to bring about the best learning experience possible for our boys over the years. Through the work of DSOBA, the old boys have extended their generous help in numerous ways, including setting up the local foundation and also becoming mentors of the current boys, offering advice on further studies and career choices. Our team of teaching staff has also grown over the years to provide more quality teaching to boys of diverse abilities. As I have often said, it is never an easy job to teach our boys here in DBS. I'm sure teachers sitting here today would agree with me on this. From laying the important groundwork in the primary division to inspiring them to discover high ground in the secondary division, our boys strive to learn more while presenting them more challenging. Then, of course, there are our boys. Having been a student here myself, although many years ago, I still share with you all an understanding of what it means to be a DBS boy. We are to uphold a tradition of achieving excellency in all areas, including music, sports, and academic achievements. We always strive for the best and never settle for anything less. That is what being a DBS is all about. Indeed, so much more can be said than what we have time for here today. However, I couldn't end my speech without saying one thing, and that is a heartfelt thank you to you all. Since without your support and understanding throughout the past 12 years, DBS would not be what we are today. As I take up new phase after my retirement at the end of the school year, so will DBS. As for the question, what next? The best answer always requires courage and understanding of the situation in front of us and taking some necessary risks. However, the next step always opens up new opportunities. I have nothing but complete faith that the best decision will be made in the best interest of all of us here in the many challenging years ahead to uphold the spirit and tradition of DBS. Well, as the common practice, actually for the past few years, every year I would like to ask some boys to come up on stage to recite some poems or to read some poems to all of you. In fact, this is part of the tradition of DBS. Years ago, Headmaster Featherstone first started this before we have the Speech and Music Festival here in Hong Kong. He will ask some of the boys to come up on stage to read some poems, to read some prose, and also prizes will be given on that very day. And that's why we have the speech day. As I mentioned, the two boys coming up on stage will read to you something concerned with retirement. Well, one thing which is good in DBS is never too late to learn. And for the past few months, I have started learning how to conduct school choir, maybe eventually the school orchestra. But of course, it takes time. But I can assure you, there may be a day that I can become a conductor. But at least I look like one. Thank you very much. So before then, let me ask the two boys to come up on stage to share with us how these two young boys feel about retirement. First, we have the G7P boy, To Yek, to come up. The next, GAD Terence Lang, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Mr. Zhang was once a little Form 1 kid. At the time, Reverend George Shi was the headmaster and about to retire. Now, I'm a little Form 1 kid too, in George Shi House, under Headmaster Zhang, who is also about to retire. His leaving marks a very sad occasion, one where the gravity of age and time takes its toll. I can but wish him the best of luck for his retirement. And to honor what he did for us, I will read a poem. No one juggled time as well as you, by Nicholas Gordon. No one juggled time as well as you, interweaving literature and law, nor served as long and well, nor rendered to our students so much life as in your store. Favors were your pleasure, ease your grace. Although you did much, much of what you did lay unobserved, so leisurely your pace, careful to keep agita well hid. For over years you taught of beauty, no less for love than conscientious duty, embracing with a zest your time and place. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Before I'll recite my poem, I'd like to say a few words. On behalf of all the fellow students, I would like to send our sincere thanks to Mr. Terence Chang for his contributions to DBS and who has worked wholeheartedly for the past 12 years. I'd like to wish him all the best and a productive, joyful life in his golden years to come. So, in honor of him, I'm going to recite a poem. Retirement Dreams by John Shong Chung Hu. Retirement, the business of settling down to the ebb of life before time pulls out its hands to close its doors on us. One last cold setback everyone has to take lying down, and without even the privilege of expressing whether we like it all or not. Everything's too planned in advance. Sorry, like this retirement. Retirees are sunflowers tilting and shining a splendid, lustrous, dexterous yellow in the evening breeze. In the full splendor of the sun, before they slowly, gently glide into the hands of the expansive horizon, dip into infinity of time. Sweet and honey for those who have the means and the plans to live out their sunset dreams, but a rocky outing for those uninterested in squeezing the succulent grapes of youth to make the glowing red wines of vantage years. The days run on and on like a race to nowhere. Thank you very much.
Chief Justice Ma was appointed Chief Justice of Hong Kong on the 1st of September 2010. Chief Justice Ma joined the Hong Kong judiciary as judge of the Court of First Instance of the High Court in 2001. He was appointed Justice of Appeal of the Court of Appeal of the High Court in 2002 and Chief Judge of the High Court in 2003. Chief Justice Ma graduated with a law degree from Birmingham University in 1977. He completed his bar finals in 1978. He was called to the English Bar, Grace Inn, in 1978, the Hong Kong Bar in 1980, the Bar of the State of Victoria in Australia in 1983, and the Bar of Singapore in 1990. He was appointed Queen's Counsel in 1993 and made an honorary bencher of Grace Inn in 2004. He was admitted to the degree of Doctor of Laws by the University of Birmingham in 2011. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the Honorable Chief Justice Ma and the Honorable Madam Justice Yuen, Court of Appeal Justice. Let us So with a big hand. So, Chief Justice.
Bishop Cho, Headmaster, members of the school committee, teachers, boys, parents, ladies and gentlemen. It nearly brings tears to my eyes to be able to stand in this hall, a hall I'd never stood in before, but heard about so much. It's a great honor and privilege for me to be here. It is also, I didn't know until a few minutes ago that, Headmaster, you were retiring. And I wish I was in your position at the moment. If it's any consolation to you, Headmaster, just from that last poem, you were described, or at least a poem describes a retiree as a tilting sunflower in the sunset. Well, if it's any consolation, I am a tilting person in the sunlight. I think it's better to be in retirement. It is indeed the golden age. Can I start by congratulating all boys today, everybody who will be mentioned, everybody who will be getting a prize. It reflects very well on you, reflects well on the school, reflects very well not only on the academic achievements that you have made, but perhaps more important, in your all-round abilities. I know that this is part of the ethos or the mission of the school to develop on an all-round basis each boy who comes through the portals of this school. So it is a very proud moment. It should be for you, perhaps a prouder moment for your parents and families. So congratulations on that. Please permit me, and I'm very honored and privileged to be able to say a few words addressing all of you this afternoon. Please permit an outsider to make a few observations about this grand school. I'm very much an outsider because I was rather surprised to read in today's Apple Daily, for those of you who read Apple Daily, I was surprised to be described as an old boy of DBS, pleasantly surprised, indeed very honorably surprised. I wish I was an old boy of DBS, but I have to confess, I'm afraid I'm not. So let's begin my observations. And I looked at the book which is in your hands, or at least most of you have this, and I begin with something which I noticed under the clubs and societies, and this is the Philosophy Society, which is headed by, if I may be permitted, the rather aptly named Mr. Zen. In that little passage is described, is a phrase which I find very significant, and that is the Diocesan Brotherhood. And I wondered what that was. Now, of course, this is my interpretation of it, and it's very much a temporal one. It is not for me, I'm not in a position to give a spiritual definition of what I think it is. Although I am not an old boy of the school, I have encountered many old boys of the school throughout my legal career in Hong Kong. One, I think certainly one, has been my own pupil, and I've observed and dealt with many old DBS boys, and many of them are my friends. I think I'm able to say this, that as to the Diocesan Brotherhood, it is a spirit which I think binds every boy, past, present, and I would think future. It binds them together. It is an intangible but characteristic strength of this school to have nurtured boys who find paramount in their in their everyday lives the concepts of friendship and of a team spirit, which one finds sadly lacking these days. In order to describe this spirit, which I think not just pervades the school as you go through it, but in fact will govern the whole of your life, whether on a personal basis or in your profession. I'm not in a position to say what, I don't know the experiences of this school. I can only best describe my own experiences here. And I think the best way of doing this is in the team sports and in the team activities in which I participated. I was lucky enough when I was your age, boys, when I was going through secondary school, to have been part of the school teams in a number of sports: tennis, badminton, soccer, cricket, amongst others. It's not the wins or the cups that I remember. What I do remember is the team spirit which pervaded through all the activities that I did, and indeed all the sort of joint activities I did, even studies, clubs, and so on. This school has many clubs and societies. If you count the number of clubs which is in that book, I think it comes to about 30 or even 40. So doing things together, having to cooperate and look to each other for support becomes an important part of your existence in this school. What I have learned as constituting what I think is team spirit and a sort of togetherness which is essential in a school and in the spirit of a school, of course, these are things which I think in later life you will find important. It might not occur to you right now, but as you grow older and enter society, I mean, this school prepares you to enter society and to fulfill your true role within it, you will find a number of things which are important. First and foremost is, of course, when you're dealing with people, it is important, of course, to know everybody around you, their strengths, their weaknesses, and their characters. It is only by knowing that you are able to go to the next step, which is to respect them and to respect their points of view. We live in a very complex society. It's complex not least because we are populous in Hong Kong, and the world, of course, is getting bigger. Many people have to live side by side. The only way you're going to do this is not by some governing body who tells you what to do, or even the law that adjudicates between disputes between you and anybody else. What makes it work is a respect for the next person. Nobody asks you to agree with anybody else, but you have to respect people's rights and their views. Now, you will get this at school as you have to work together in a number of activities. For those who participate in team sports, this is perhaps the clearest way in which you will see this happen. Further then from that is something which I would call loyalty. If you are part of a team or part of a group, you are all meant to be united and not disunited. There is too much of a tendency in the world outside the school for people to be disunited, for a tendency to blame others for your misfortunes or even when there is no misfortune. And yet, a respect for the views of other people will ensure that this should rarely happen. And if you are in a group that has to work together, it makes, and I'm talking again about team sports here, what you don't do is blame the person who is the weakest member. What you do is to understand why things have been done and also to encourage him. I remember quite clearly in my school days when I was playing cricket, for the team. There was a day which was similar to this. It was raining much more heavily than this, and in the morning, when we had team practice in the afternoon, in the morning, nobody brought their cricket kit in because everybody assumed that cricket was going to be off. It was going to be off, people assumed, but also one of the team members said, well, it definitely is off with this weather, and I can tell you you can safely not bring your kit. Of course, a miracle happened. The sun started shining, the wind blew the fields dry, so by the afternoon, when it was cricket practice, it was actually quite sunny and dry. But the team, of which I was a member, had not actually brought their kit. Now, the result of this was that the coach, who was a teacher, got very annoyed and started asking who was to blame for this. I was glad to say, and I'm glad to say now, nobody in the team fingered the person who had told us not to bring our kit. We suffered for a bit because, well, in those days, of course, teachers were allowed to administer corporal punishment. You'd be quite interested to know what happened this is about 40 years ago now, I think, a bit more. We were all lined up against a wall outside the school hall, rather like this. You can imagine all of us lined out outside. We all faced the wall as the coach then used a cricket bat, you all know what a cricket bat looks like, and whacked us in our bottom as hard as he could. So I can still feel the pain now. But, well, not too much perhaps, not too much to say that I was rather proud of the team that day for not, as it were, pointing the finger at someone and blaming that person for something for which he's not really to blame. Now, part of a team, apart from loyalty, apart from respecting the views of others and the rest of it, also consists, I think, of fun. There is no harm in enjoying yourselves in your work. In doing something serious, you are there also to enjoy it while you can. I mention these things because as you leave this school, go to university, go into real life and work in real jobs, you will find that all these factors I've just mentioned will come into their own and are relevant to what you do. Concepts of unity, loyalty, understanding, respecting the views of others, finding out whether your colleagues or team members, just what their sort of characters are. All these things become important in later life. And I often I look at what goes on in Hong Kong and the world, and I wonder whether if people realized the sort of spirit I've just been talking about should actually pervade what it is that they do, how much better place Hong Kong and the world perhaps can be. So I perhaps, if I may, end with another reference to, well, this time not the philosophy society. There is also a psychology society, as I understand it. Now, I don't know how many of you are in the psychology society, perhaps not too many. But what caught my eye was a quote, I think, from John Valeri, which is also in your book. I can't quote it exactly, but it's something like this, that psychology consists in part of looking at something familiar, but in a completely different light or with a completely different idea. All of you look at this hall, look at the school, the buildings, the bricks and mortar, and you associate it with the people, the teachers, perhaps the headmaster, and the boys. In the years to come, another way of looking at it is perhaps summarized in 2 words, which I think epitomizes the spirit of the school and indeed the Diocesan Brotherhood. And those 2 words, I would suggest, are friendship and loyalty. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the hard work, Madam Justice Yun, Justice of Appeal. Thank you very, very much. Now, Zhao Xi-Chit and Lai Wing-Sheng will present souvenirs to the Honorable Chief Justice Jeffrey Ma and the Honorable Madam Justice Yun, Justice of Appeal. And gentlemen, a vote of thanks will be given by the senior prefect.
Good afternoon, Headmaster, Honorable Chief Justice Ma, Madam Justice Yun, members of the school committee, parents, teachers, and fellow students. Time sure flies, and certainly in a pressing manner. Looking back, it has already been 7 years since I first attended speech day at Diocesan Boys' School. I still remember the day when I was sitting there, just like every one of you, as one of the first batch of the primary division graduates. As we all know, DBS has a fine reputation as one of the most prestigious secondary schools in Hong Kong. Frankly speaking, I was more than excited when I was admitted to the school, which everyone agrees is an ideal place for school life for local and even non-local students. For a while, having acclimatized myself to a competitive and so-called elitist environment, I used to believe that there isn't that much of a difference between us diocesans and students from other schools. Everything seemed rather commonplace to me. But it was when I had my first taste as a spectator of the inter-school sports competition that I started to realize the very obvious difference between us and them. I'm of course talking about the unity and spirit entrenched deep in all of our souls. Talking about the diocesan spirit, I'm pretty sure this is not a new idea you've heard of, and many of your seniors and even Honorable Chief Justice have just mentioned to you. To me, the spirit of DBS is really simple. It is the motivation that drives all of us, all of you guys sitting here, towards the same common goal. Be it academic, music, sports pursuits, we take every step in tandem with each other, striving to be the best of the best. It is this unity and brotherhood that makes us stand out from the others. It is the unceasing self-motivation which incessantly reminds us of the necessity of giving to the school. We've heard on countless occasions about not to ask what DBS has given you, but to ask what you have given DBS, a very classical quote. But how exactly can we contribute to the school? No one has yet a commonly agreed answer. True, we can achieve all-round excellence in academics, sports, and music. But what about the others? Are they my props on the stage? casting a shadow above the towering heights of achievements made by the pillars of our schools. Every year, we have tons of outstanding students from each of the aforementioned fields. But what's more important is the way we lift up the diocesan name. We can pass with flying colors in the public exams, break a myriad of records, slam dunk the music festival, but all these cannot make up the tie or badge we all are wearing, not even a tiny bit. On top of all this, the school uniform we are wearing right now from head to toe weighs approximately 2 pounds, yet it is way heavier than what you can imagine. With over 140 years of history, DBS has paved the way for success for us through our predecessors and even our successors. Every single mistake can implicate the whole. It is indeed disappointing to know nowadays diocesans seemingly lack an awareness to how to wear the proper uniform, let alone their model good behavior and language. A year ago, I was standing here in a similar circumstance, giving my inauguration speech as senior prefect, with a cracked voice closely after the inter-school swimming competition. It was carved into my heart because my throat was really in great pain after a day of cheering for our school. Yet, I was never ashamed of being off-pitch from time to time. I was proud. I was proud to be able to lose my voice, to cheer for our beloved school to the very end, to uphold the diocesan spirit we all shared. Please allow me to quote a 16-word motto by prefects once again, here in Chinese. 明默相連，薪火相傳，照顧學弟，老 P 有責. The reason why I would like to repeat this sentence for so many times is because I find this exceptionally inspiring. To me, this is not only what a prefect should do, this is what all of us diocesans should strive towards. Undeniably, each of us has gained too much to keep everything to ourselves. Cadbury Hill is a treasure trove, so don't be selfish. Be role models and pass on what you have gotten from the school, and share with the juniors what you have learned. Now that my happiest moments of my secondary school life have become bygones, and I am now a university student, looking back, I realized what bliss it was to be a part of DBS. DBS is a place where you can enjoy the great freedom, a freedom that surpasses that in other schools or even at university. So please remember to treasure your freedom and what you possess at this very, very moment. And do not take what you have now for granted. To be honest, I have no idea to what extent you will agree with me at this stage. Yet, I'm convinced that it is left to all of you to explore what DBS is really about in your remaining years. And one day, you will certainly be proud of being a diocesan. I wish all of you the best of life and health, and hope that you will achieve flying colors and lead a fruitful life. I can assure you that there's nothing I can find at this stage that can replace my memorable and delightful times at DBS. I hope you can cherish also your time here, as there is no place as warm, as dignified, as lovely, as splendid, as majestic, and as anything good you can think of as this school. Thank you.
Thank you. So what next? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to take the time out for me to make a very brief, but rather important and serious announcement. Now, the school committee has resolved at its meeting on the 12th of January 2012, and that is yesterday, to appoint Mr. Ronnie Jengayan. Hang on. Let me finish it. Now, to appoint Mr. Ronnie Jengayan as Headmaster to succeed Mr. Terence Jern, who would retire by the end of August 2012. Lao Pat. Now, the appointment will be subject to the approval of the Education Bureau. So, thank you.